Welcome everyone to a diving tutorial in Planet Zoo, and welcome to the deep sea diving tutorial. So in today's episode you will be learning all about the diving in this wonderful game, which has been introduced with the latest update 1.4.1, and it also introduced 5 animals that are capable of diving, 4 of which are coming with their new DLC, and 1 is already in the base game, being the saltwater crocodile. Today you're going to learn how you achieve the deep swimming, how you manage to have some cool water effects, how you manage to have some tunnels where the animals can swim through, and how you also can make some water basins like that, but also some floating water like that you can basically manipulate in every kind of way. Right, so let's start with the basics, and the basics are really important to understand how the mechanic works in this game. So first of all, I've got a lot of animals in this habitat, and you can already tell that there is one big animal, a big chunky white one in here, and this is the polar bear, which unfortunately does not dive. So what does the polar bear do? The polar bear basically does swim only on the surface of the water. If we click on the polar bear and we have a look at his requirements, you can see there is basically, unfortunately, at this point in time, no welfare requirement for the underwater swimming, simply because it's not in the game yet. Hopefully, it's going to be added in the future, but at this point in time, it's not. So as soon as this is not available, these animals won't deep dive. But they have a navigable swim area, which is always only the surface of here, which is a very demanding little dude over here, and so is really having not a good time. Anyhow, you can also see that there are other animals that are using the waters to swim down, catch some fishies down here, chew on them, and you can see that they have a green navigatable 4-meter deep swim area. So here's the thing, this game has a brand new dynamic, so to say, or like a brand new functionality. Some animals, 5 of which to be precise, can deep dive now. This is, just to make sure you have heard it, it's the gray seal, the king penguin, it is the caiman, it is also the otter, the giant otter, and it is the saltwater crocodile. So 1 animal from the base game and 4 animals of the aquatic DLC. Now, what you need to know first is, in order to make them swim, they have to have at least 4 meters of depth of the water, and this is what this little pinky block is for. This is my measurement method, but you will already spot that there's a little bit of difference here in order to showcase something that I found out while testing this. So you can technically make animals swim in actually shallow water if you just do one thing. And if I'm going to click now on the gray seal, which is finally using this thing over here, can we just have this? You will notice that this is just very closely met, which is a little bit crazy, right? Because considering this is just quite a gigantic pool. Well, here's the thing. It seems that the animals do swim and dive as soon as you have this green. Means they can also swim in lower waters or in more shallow waters if they overall have enough depth. So what you want to do is make sure that you have a design of your pool, of your thing, in which they have enough space to really deep dive. You can see I have this outer ring over here where the animals can deep dive. There's a little bit of, I have two habitats in here, so this is also why. But there's enough very deep area to first of all meet their requirements. As soon as their requirements are met, you can basically play around and make the animals swim. I don't even know why there is an education board. So I put this thing down over here. This is like a little measurement board for me that indicates this is 3 meters. So we're having exactly 2.5 meters over here. And this seems to be the most shallow possible area in which animals, and all of the animals, seem to easily swim over and just do some rolls and do basically every animation. You can see there's also the penguin swimming over here. And in a few seconds, I think you've also seen the seal. So this is all pretty easy. So in order to make sure that you guys have this, it's pretty simple. What you want to do, you want to first of all, there's like literally countless ways of making this work, but the most easy way obviously is to grab that thing over here, just put it there, and then you build something that goes deep into the ground. I always like to use the stamp tool because you can basically snap the height. I want to always go for like 5 meters. You can always put some rocks in and stuff, but it's easier to go 5 meters because then you can be sure that this is exactly what you need. And what you want to do then is move it down just before this moment where you can see that the overlay flaps over. You still want to have this little bit of yellowish outer ring because that indicates that you're still at the height that you need to keep it open. Then just click, boom, and you can then also drag this thing down in. And there you go. So that's pretty much what you want to do. And then you can also fill in the water if you want. Just have a little test first of all. If it's working, fine, it is. Cool, right? This is pretty simple. Now what you can do over here, you can actually go crazy with this. You can basically go in, and if you want, you could actually make something like that. You know, you could make like a very nice little tunnel going over here to the other side. Just make sure that the pool is continuing over here. You know, this is just like I would do it. Is looking pretty ugly right now. And what you can do then is also make sure that this is not as, you know, as deep, because maybe you want to put like something like a viewing gallery over here, or you want to hide this. So what you can do, and I'm going to show this to you because it's very important of understanding how this whole thing works. I'm going to also put down something here, just so you guys can see what I'm really up to, because that's really important to understand. You can also build something that is actually going to be like a little cave. Which I don't know if they need everything. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this a little bit smaller, so we have at least a bit of a open space in the back. So I'm going to do it that way. So here you go. I wanted to do it with you guys so you can actually see that this works. So this is pretty easy, pretty much straightforward. And what you can do now, you can basically fill in the water. There you go. This is now our pool. You can see that this pinkish thing over here is still there. It's still indicating that we have enough water. Great. What we need to do quickly is just pull down an habitat. I'm going to do this quick, and then I'll be continuing with you. All right, here we are back with the most wonderful habitat you'll see in your life. I made this little test scenario for you, and you can see already there is someone showing off what I was talking about. So you can see this one just dove through here, dove even the past tense form of diving. I guess it is, but you can see that this little dude over here is enjoying his time over here quite massively. And you can see that it's actually diving over here. It's not like using the surface. No, it is actually diving, even though technically the depth is not enough. So this is the trick you can basically use. And why did I show you this over here? Well, because I know that many of you guys potentially want to fake it. They want to kind of have only a habitat that has a very shallow area. So what you can do, you can basically hide the difference that you need. You can basically hide this kind of very deep layer somewhere in your habitat, and then you can put all the enrichment items to another side so that they always keep being here in the more shallow area. And this is how you would keep it, or keep them always swimming in the more shallow area, because you can just basically put something above. It doesn't need to be that thing. You can also just go in and do something like that. You know, we're just gonna delete this thing real quick. There you go. Just delete this. Yeah. Just box them real quick. Oops, that was a little bit too much. I'm going to quickly just get rid of this here. There you go. And we could also just delete this thing for a moment. And then we are going to put like a roof on top. You know, that's also working. Yeah. Let's just take a flat roof. There you go, flat roof. Yeah, let's take the ice blocks. It doesn't really matter what you use. And then we can just basically build those blocks on top of here. Just delete them and just put them like this. They will also be able to run on this, obviously. But now, what also happens, you can already tell that they are swimming below here. So it doesn't really matter. You can do it that way. They will actually dive below, which is pretty dang cool, because this is the way how you can hide things away and then just use the lower area if you need. But you can make like tunnels, you can make everything like this. Now, this is all about the general swimming, how you set up the area. Now let's talk about what is happening when they're actually in the water. Alright, so we are back in our test scenario, and at this point in time, I've put some things in here, and you can actually tell already that there is something happening. Now, you can see that I put some gates in, and I made them different sizes, and you will see that the animals are capable of swimming through these things. So you will see these animals are going through here. This is a 4x4 meter block. Pretty easy stuff. They swim just pretty much nicely through here. But there's also this bit over here, which is also like a little gate, which is a bit wider, but it actually is only 3 meters of depth. And the same thing applies as over here. As long as they have enough navigatable area, it seems that they're easily passing also through lower stuff. Pretty easily. You don't even need the 4 meters, you know, in terms of height. 3 meters seem to be totally fine. However, you always need to pay attention on how exactly you do it. It always is interdependent between how much space they have in total and how much space you actually give them in total. So you will need to make make sure that every time you put something in, you check again if this is still green, because as soon as this is not green anymore, they will also not be able to navigate the lower than 4 meter by 4 meter open gates. So you have to, I would love to give you the exact measurement, but it's simply not possible, because the otter, I saw the otter actually going through a 2 by 2 meter one. It did it twice, you know. We can actually test this for a good measure, you know. I just want to test this again because I saw this happening. So we're going to do the following. We're going to put this down to 2 meters now. Nope, not the angle snap. Wait, why is this happening? Okay, let's do it that way. And we're going to do 2 meters, which is, okay, let's keep it fair. I'm going to keep it that way. And then we just put another one down and another one, and we just keep something on top. All right. This doesn't matter. Okay, so yeah, this is fake. You have to work, wait a second. And then there you go. There's a penguin coming, and it's going all the way through. It'll take a second, and they will not block through here, but they will actually take it. But this only works because they do still have a very nice big old area for them to navigate through. As you can see, it's still very much easy because they have all the space. So it's actually really cool what you can do. So you can actually do some cool stuff in your habitat. You can make some very technical stuff. You can make some very interesting little gates. You can make some castles, if you will, in which they can maybe swim in and have a little dive there. You can make some cool stuff, you know. Just in general, make sure that they always have a green dive area, and then they will be able to also swim through more shallow areas. How cool is that, right? So just always keep an eye on what your animals demand, and then this will happen. Now, we also have to quickly talk about what is happening in franchise mode, because this is all stuff that applies obviously in sandbox mode, because your possibilities are limitless. But what happens if you are in the wonderful franchise mode? Well, to talk about the franchise mode, you have to first of all understand that there is a new item in the game, and that is called the water temperature regulator. And the water temperature regulator is a new item that allows you to regulate, as you can guess, the temperature of the water. Also, there's a new heat map included. If you click on the heat maps and you go to water, there is not only the normal water, there's also the water temperature stuff over here. And you can already tell there is this little icon indicating that the temperature is not perfect for the animal. Well, this is technically because I have different animals in this habitat that don't belong together. It's just a testing environment over here. But you can now go and basically reduce the amount of heat in the water, or actually the heat itself. In my original design, I had like 2 sides. This was for the more rainforesty area, and this one was for the more polar area. And so I could also up this one. Now they are fighting for which one is stronger. You can also, decrease the range of it if you want to be a bit more precise. I'm going to decrease it so that this doesn't touch the water volume anymore. And now you can see over time the water is getting a bit more light colored because I put it all the way down, which is also increased the range, so it's getting a bit quicker. And this actually works as all the other items in the game as well. It works the same way as the water purifier. You have to have your maintenance and stuff like that, but you will need to use this to make your animal happy, because they will have the requirement of having the water in the right temperature. So you will have this thing over here, and this area over here doesn't have to be only big enough, but also the temperature has to be good. They need the diveable area, they need enough land area, and so on and so forth. So there's a lot of stuff that you need to consider. So the temperature will now not only apply to the environmental area, but also to the water area. It's very important. So you have to make sure that whenever you do this, you will have this thing in range, and you will have to make sure that they do not break down, because then the temperature is not adjusting, and so on and so forth. I love this addition because it really gives us a lot more realistic stuff. So that makes sense, and I really hope that you guys are finding this helpful as well, because I mean it's pretty easy. You just put them down, you have a reduced area, okay, it's fine, because then it just, this means it works better and it doesn't really go broken that quickly. The bigger you make it, the more problematic it gets. But yeah, so this is how it works. Pretty easy. And they also have the same negative effect on people, so yeah, don't you worry, it's always the same. Now, as we have this out of hand, you also have to make sure, of course, for the franchise mode, that your animals not only have the same stuff in here, they also now can have different plants. And you can see the biome aquatic is actually added to a few more animals, not only this one, to be honest. There are a lot of animals that have this new aquatic biome added to them, and this is something you will find under nature. And then in nature, there's also the filter has always been here, but now it's actually becoming a bit more usable. You click on the aquatic filter and then you can see there's a whole bunch of new plants in here from the DLC, but also from the base game. And then you can put this underwater and your animals will get a lot more happy. You can see the otter in our case over here needs a lot, so I could like, you know, spam the stuff now to the ground. Actually these things are looking pretty dang good, to be honest. So I'm just like spamming this down here a little bit so you guys can see it. It's looking pretty cool. It's looking like a really like a nice lovely area. Don't you worry about all these escapes basically, because if they're in mid-air over here they are considered escaped. So yeah, we're just not going to look into that right now. Oh well, this dude over here is not only escaped in mid-air. See you later, mate. Okay, cool. Now guys, as we have talked a lot about the diving in here in the water and stuff like that, now we talk about the spicy stuff, okay? Now we talk about this juicy stuff over here. Floating water. What is that, you may ask? Well, if we go in, oh my god, this is a water volume. Well, in case you guys haven't seen this, there is a whole video tutorial on how to make these things. I'm gonna show this to you right now, but if you want to see this a bit more in depth, I'm gonna link Paul Slay's tutorial in here in the description and also to the top right now to the info button. You can check this out if you want, but I'm gonna show it to you now anyways. But there's a change to it. You have to now have something else changed. Now, therefore, let's jump into the next section. All right, so why do we talk about floating water? Well, I can tell you why. Floating water offers you a lot more flexibility with scenery and with making the habitat look nice and with going crazy with underwater tunnels, for example. Yes, you heard it right. We technically can make underwater tunnel. There are also ways of making the tunnel in a different way that I'm going to show you right now. But there's one thing you have to consider when we are doing this. I made these two test scenarios over here, and just to show you the difference, I'm going to put down a little trade center over here and I'm going to bring an animal in just so you see that, okay? So what we are going to do, I'm just going to quickly set this up for you and then I'm going to show you the difference, and we are going to make this basically the same way as we have it over here, okay? But it will show some differences, okay? So I'll be back in a second and then you will see what I mean. Alright, we are back, the test scenario is done, and now you guys will see what happens. So both of these areas have now a habitat and they will both get the same animal. It's going to be the king penguin, and these are, I can tell you, these are identical. There's only one difference and you can already spot it, it's the depth of the water volume. Now if we click on this dude over here, you will see that this dude has a wonderful navigatable 4-meter deep swim area and also enough area on top. Now if we go to this dude over here, you can see it doesn't really have the 4 meter of depth, okay? Simply because that water volume over here is too shallow. In fact, it wouldn't if you use the same trick I just explained over there. But there are ways, guys, of getting it a little bit more nice, okay? I'm gonna teach you the ways now. So this is very nice, but we want this, okay? And we want the animals to swim in that, right? Don't we? Yes, we want. Now, there is this wonderful trick that you can take the path, make sure you have tunneling enabled. This is the very important bit over here. One thing you should not have, as I did over here, because then it doesn't work, you should definitely not have a barrier on top of it. I just made it in the way that we have a barrier here. But what we're going to do, we're just going to take that barrier. We're just going to make this barrier, okay? I think this should work. Apparently it doesn't work with barrier, but it doesn't matter. You can get rid of the barrier and then just do it later on again if you need it. So what you do now, you have this pathway over here, and what you want to do, you are raising the pathway, and as you can see, for whatever reason, I can go inside of this terrain over here. And since we have tunneling enabled, you will see what happens in a bit. So I'm going to move it down to a space like that, and boom, we are getting rid of this wonderful terrain over here. Why do we do this? Well, because the game has this little wonderful bug that we can use and leverage to make sure that we get rid of the terrain, but the water stays. So I'm going to show you what happens now. I'm going to take this and just build this a little further, and I'm going to use the align to path grid, and then I'm just going to stamp this all away, and you can see magically this all goes away. The water is getting a little bit more irritated over here. It is just like because it gets this weird texture, but don't worry, it doesn't really matter. And then I'm gonna get rid of the pathway over here pretty simply. Look, this is how you do it. And then I'm gonna make this down here again because we want this also to go away. I'm just going to stamp this away. I mean, you get the idea. Right, okay, and our habitat looks a little bit different right now. I just kept the fence appearing because you guys should see how I set up the fencing around here. Like, technically what you could do, you basically could just make this invisible fence all the way around and then it works. I just made this terrain so you can see that you always have to have a connection to the upper layer terrain, of course. So I would never recommend to do it that way in mid-air, just do it into the bottom or whatever. But this is better for you to see and showcase. Now, what happens now is you can see that this friend, our penguin, over here has basically the exact same ratios as before. It can still swim, it doesn't really have the navigatable area because it's not deep enough, okay? But what about this area? Why wouldn't we test this over here? Because we do have the diveable area, right? So can we do the exact same thing over here? Oh boy, we can. So let me show you. We can now use the same little trick over here. We just go get rid of the barrier real quick because that's the stuff we don't need over here, okay? So it's gonna get rid of it. And then you basically do the exact same. You take the path again. I would just make it as big as you can because that's just gonna help you a lot. And then you just move it carefully in here. I want to start over here with the highest point. Just drag it a little bit more outside, so until it doesn't really walk anymore. There you go. You can basically do it at all heights. It doesn't really matter. I'm going to start at this height because that's going to get rid of most of the top layer. So there you go. Maybe we just make it a little bit smaller to get a bit closer. There you go. And from over here, we are just going to, oops, that is, maybe it was too high even. Okay, well then we just get rid of it a little bit lower. You have to, you know, there's no perfect recipe for that. You can just also go a little bit lower. Let's start somewhat over here. That should be still not working. Let's go lower. Let's start the whole stuff over here. Yeah, there you go. There you go, guys. This is where it works. And then you can do the exact same thing. It's, you know, it's gonna get a little bit more repetitive though. But oops, why did this even go lower? We don't want that. We don't want these guys. And so on and so forth. You can already see where this is going. You know, I'm just gonna do it the whole thing because that's gonna get too much actually. And then you get rid of the path. There you go. Awesome. And that's basically about it, you know. And you can see it is totally open and you can do with this area whatever you want. You can also get rid of this stuff if it doesn't work that way. Just grab your path, move it into this area. Make sure you're very close to it. So like this, and then just click once, go through, done. And so this is the way how you can get rid of most of it. And the little bit more finicky stuff is actually to get rid of this upper area, which technically works. You just have to find a nice way of getting closer to it, as I do over here. And then you can just do it and make it more thin and make it disappear after time. It's just, again, it does require a little bit of patience, but it's actually worth the pain. I'm definitely going to show you in my new project, which will start tonight as a little hint. But yeah, so I've done this and you can see it is totally open from the lower level. And what you can do over here now is pretty cool because, as I said, you can now technically go down here and just build a path. Why not? Let's just build a path through here. You know, let's do it that way. And then we're also going to go construction. And we say glass, and then we take like a wonderful glass piece as if we were made to be like a tunnel. I'm gonna take this one. This one's great. You know, let's just take that one, make that align perfectly fine here with the pathway. Yeah, that's not perfectly fine, but whatever. You know, just going to make sure that we have a little bit of a tunnel. There you go. Awesome. And that's about it. Alright guys, see, we are standing down here in the tunnel now and you can see the penguin diving above us in this wonderful, lovely volume of water. So it's, as I said, it's really cool. And now just to show you the full picture, I'm gonna take like a little second to, you know, make sure that this looks like an actual diving aquarium, and then you can actually get the idea of what I was just showing to you. So give me a second and I'm gonna show you the finished product of what we've done over here. And so you can actually learn and see how you can make underwater viewing galleries that are really underwater. Alright, we're back down here and you can see I changed this a little bit down here and all the animals I put on this platform. So in a second they should actually go into the water and start diving around. At least you can see one swimming over here already. And this is how it all works, guys. This is now the finished platform. I mean, obviously you could make that all look a little more nice. not just like I did this right now over here, but it just kind of works very nicely. You can see the animals dive around here, and I've just covered up some of the ugly stuff over here, but it doesn't matter. You can also keep it open, get rid of most of the stuff, make it more open, however you desire. This is all working. And it's pretty cool, and I'm also going to show you, so in case you guys don't believe me. If we get on here, you can see, because I built a little bit too much in here, we basically got rid of them diving. We technically need to just delete some of the stuff here, and then they would start diving again. That was my bad though. I just made them a little bit less water. You can see basically the broken pathway over there, but I think we just fixed it for them. Not quite. So I would need to change a few things in here. I messed up. I don't know if it's just the scenery or what it is, but if you give them enough space, they would start back diving down here again, and you have this wonderful viewing gallery of them diving around, and that is absolutely cool, and I really love this. Anyhow, guys, this is already the end of the tutorial. I'm gonna make like a little summary now, and then we can talk about everything you hopefully learned today. And in case you have got more questions, just drop them on in the comments down below, and I'll be more than glad to answer all of them. Alright, what did we learn? So basically we learned about the basics of swimming in this tutorial. Now, first of all, we learned that there are two types of swimming now in the game. As of the aquatic DLC and 1.4.1 update, there is not only the surface swimmable area, there is also now the deep sea swimming area. We also learned that in order to make your animals swim, you have to fulfill all the requirements for the deep sea swimming, which is indicated by this little green area to the right hand side of the space requirements. It is called the navigatable 4-meter deep water area. But we also learned that you don't need to have everything 4-meter deep, you just need to have enough 4-meter depth swimming area. As soon as you have fulfilled that and this all turns green, you can also make areas that are way more shallow and way more tight and way more less spacious and way more realistic, if you will, and your animals will gladly use that as well because they have enough space and they can swim. My idea behind this is they do know from point to point that they can still swim because they have enough area to turn around and move, because that's how the game in general works. They can also, the navigatable area is functioning this way, so it only makes sense. As soon as you give them enough space to always come back to the original point from where they are, this is fine. And this is how you have to think about this as well. And then they do swim also through these lovely gates like this. It just looks fantastic, I think. Speaking of swimming through stuff, I also showed you that you can hide basically the 4-meter area if you want to make your habitat look a lot more shallow in general. You can just put whatever you want over the water. It doesn't really matter because your animals will dive down there anyways. And we're talking about only diveable animals, by the way. And then we also talked about having the water float like this, and this is done basically with the stamp tool and just how I showed you with the technique of using the pathing. But in order to make them dive in this area, you have to make sure that the water volume is always 4-meter depth first of all, and then you can build from there. So it doesn't really matter how and what you want to do. The important bit about this is, and by the way, there you have some penguins diving down here in our water gallery, just so you know it is working. Just make sure that you have always 4 meters of depth of your water volume met first of all, and then you can go nuts with the design as you wish. So very important stuff, guys, that we have covered today. I really hope that helps you to understand how the swimming works, and now go out there and create the most beautiful habitats with deep diving animations and deep diving animals as you can, and I'm really curious to see what you guys can pull off. But now I only have to say, stay safe everyone, have a good time, and in case you liked it, you want to have more tutorials and stuff like that, just make sure to subscribe to the channel. And if you've got any question that I didn't cover in the video, let me know in the comments down below. I will answer it to you guys. And in case you want to see more content, tonight my new project is going to launch in a few hours from now, so keep your eyes peeled on the channel. That's going to be incredibly awesome because I'm really proud of it, and I really hope you guys will like it as well. But now, have a good time and goodbye everyone.